Mehr als 50 Gänge in 6 Stunden und das gar nicht in Form einer Menüabfolge, sondern in Form von kulinarischen Botschaften. Die Rede ist natürlich vom Alchemist und der Mastermind dieses sehr einzigartigen Restaurants. Ist heute hier. Welcome, Rasmus Munk.
Herzlich willkommen bei Roll-In Pin Talks, dem inspirierenden Podcast mit den spannendsten, schrägsten, kreativsten, erfolgreichsten Menschen aus der Gastronomie und Hotellerie.
Thank you so much.
Everything fine?
Everything's good. Yeah. Busy. I was a busy life, but it's been for many years now. So I stopped saying that. So yeah, everything's good.
A busy life about which we will talk in a couple of minutes. But first, let's start with our little word wrap. Pizza with ananas, yes or no?
No.
This was clear. A QR code menu?
No.
Yes. No. Guide Michelin or 50 best?
I embrace it all.
If you have to choose one.
I think it's hard, like choosing for what. Like I don't have any preferable guides. I think it's embracing the culinary world, highlight the chefs in our restaurants. So I like both things.
Street food or fine dine?
Street food.
Yeah, that's super straight. Okay. Wine or beer?
Wine.
Get up early or go to sleep late?
Go to sleep late.
Reading or watching a film?
Watching a film.
Winter or summer?
Winter. My skin.
Cow milk or soya milk?
Cow milk.
Fine. Let's go to our deep talk.
Yeah.
It's been an incredible journey, I would say, since 2015 for you. It was the time where you opened the first version.
The first edition, yeah.
The first edition of The Alchemist. I think it's quite important to understand how the first version became the current Alchemist. Can you a little bit talk about that?
Yeah, so the first edition of Alchemist was started with the mission for me to change the world through food, like use our medium for change. I saw food as a good way of communicating. I could see that a lot of chefs and restaurants around the world got a lot of attention. And if you could use that attention and the voice that you have in society, if you could use that, I would say clever and in that fact, like change things in society, raise awareness about things, put a question mark to things. I thought that could be very interesting, and that was like the lead to start Alchemist. Loan the money in the bank myself. Didn't have any partner at that time in the restaurant. So 15 seats, what we called, it was 45 dishes back then. So
45.
It was, yeah.
Already.
But it was like a very long menu,
yeah.
And also dishes where we were communicating about things happening in the society. But still a little bit more punk, I would say. We were a team of 4 or 5 people. It was quite small, 15 guests at night, and a little bit more, we just did what we wanted to do, and we still do that, but today with a lot of research behind. So sometimes I could make a dish about a issue that I felt there was in the world, and then I could get somebody in that was more knowledgeable than myself that said, this problem you and actually have made a law about that. That's not a problem anymore, so you don't need to communicate that. So it was a little bit more punk, fast forward, and just do dishes about things I thought was interesting and thought. But today I think it's more mature. It's more, it's more research going into the things.
I mean, we will talk then as well about the current Alchemist, how it is, how it became this quite unique restaurant it is. You did have then for the new Alchemist financial support. This was something that changed. But first, because you were already pretty mature in your approach when you opened the first version of Alchemist, how did this happen to have such an approach to food and to want to put such a ambitious focus on a restaurant and to raise all those questions. I mean, when did this happen that you say, I want actually to make a restaurant which is about more than, you know?
Yeah, I was a head chef in a restaurant called TreeTop in Jutland. I became head chef when I came home from London, and I think I was 21.
Yes, I read 21, 22.
Yeah, 21,
first
22.
became a head chef.
And
already pretty young, no?
Pretty young, yeah, exactly. And I felt like it was 2 years of we had a lot of success. I got like a lot of prizes of being the best young chef and things like that. At that point, you couldn't get Michelin stars in Jutland, so that was only in Copenhagen. Yeah. But we had a good success. We turned the restaurant from being a restaurant where there was only like 2 guests coming on a Friday night to be fully booked nearly every night, and from 2 chefs to 10 people, and so everything was quite good in that way. But I also felt like I was a echo of something that was original. Like I tapped into a reality where it was about the local ingredients. I even sometimes told my guests that I got my inspiration for going around in the forest by the beach. And I'm grown up in the forest. I don't get any inspiration of being in the forest. I think it's nice to be there, but I'm not thinking about any new dishes. So I kind of brought myself into this reality of like, if you had some stoneware, tableware that was made by handcraft of a local guy, and you picked your greens yourself with this gardener and so on, then it was good, and it created that success. But I didn't feel it was real and original. And I worked 90, 100 hours a week to make somebody else satisfied, like lists or guides or newspapers. That was the success criteria was those things. And then I have an organization called Wish Christmas, if you directly translate it, which make a Christmas Eve for a family that have a hard time, either financially or sickness or whatever it could be. And to make that Christmas Eve made me so much more happy. I started in 2011, and in 2015, after we had done the Christmas, or it was 14 Christmas Eve, I was just like this, working only 10 hours that day, cooking with one hand on the back because it was quite traditional food. It was just good, down to earth food, but it made so many people happy, and it made such a big impact on the families and the kids. And I was like, I want to use my life of doing things that's making a greater sense than to be honest, just to cook.
This was this proposed thing then.
Yeah, it was
the social dimension of eating.
Yeah, so I quit my job actually nearly the same night, not on Christmas Eve, but the day after. Wrote an email to the CEO of the hotel and said, like, I want to follow something, I don't know what, but I want to do something with my life that's make more sense than this race in I think a hamster wheel kind of.
Of course.
So I gave a long notice because I didn't know what to do. So I think I left my notice until like March or April that following year. And first I was contacting like Red Cross. I'd done some summer camps for them with young people. And I was like, I can do this full time. I can make these camps. We can do it internationally. What do I need to do for helping you? And there was something in me that was still like loved to be in the kitchen, to be creative there, to have this as a medium of releasing my creativity, because maybe to stand and doing an ordinary meal, even that it have a very big impact on a local society, maybe that will not be enough for my creative part. So I was coming up with the idea about making a restaurant that could change the world through food. So have that as a overall ambition, and that's why we call it Alchemist. The Alchemist never succeeded in making gold, and I think that's to change the world through one restaurant or one chef or one. It will never happen. So this like completely unrealistic goal.
That was the reason you used.
We named
you
named
it the Alchemist because
exactly.
You knew it's impossible to achieve this big dream, but
at least alone,
at least it's worth a try to contribute to.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the Alchemist was a good example of people like they maybe didn't create gold, but they created so much more that's so important today. So I think if we reach for the stars, then you maybe come half of the way, and maybe that's good enough. And so that was like the reason why I then decided to go and make a restaurant like Alchemist.
Wir machen eine kurze Werbeeinschaltung für unseren Partner Hela. Ein Gedankenexperiment. Alle reden von Qualität und guten Zutaten, aber wie könnte man bestimmte Lebensmittel noch besser machen? Nehmen wir den Balsamico-Essig. Machen wir ihn doch aus frischen Früchten, am besten aus dem Schwarzwald, hergestellt in Handarbeit von einem echten Essigbraumeister. Und lassen wir ihn langsam und naturbelassen in Holzfässern reifen, so wie guten Wein. Oder Olivenöl. Okay, keine Mischung. Das muss sortenrein sein, damit man die Besonderheiten der Olivensorten schmeckt. Und natürlich kommt es dann direkt aus Spanien und wird nach der Ernte vor Ort schnell und schonend kalt gepresst. Gewürze wie Pfeffer. Klar, nachhaltiger Anbau ist gesetzt. Als beste Anbauregion für Pfeffer nehmen wir Kampot in Kambodscha. Und handverlesene Qualität von allen Reifegraden muss natürlich sein. Aber dem Bauern sollten wir dann auch genau das bezahlen, was er von uns verlangt, und am besten spenden wir noch den Gewinn für Schulprojekte vor Ort. Ach, gäbe es das alles nur schon, gibt es. Und zwar bei Hela. Hela setzt sich seit vielen Jahren mit klarer Haltung für die besten Lebensmittel ein. Und so entstanden die Hela-Marken Theo, Art of Oil und Chamkar. Neugierig? Dann sprich deinen Hela-Außendienst an oder schreib Hela eine Mail an customer-service@hela.eu. Übrigens, bei der diesjährigen Rolling Pin Convention in Düsseldorf ist Hela natürlich auch wieder dabei. Komm vorbei und überzeuge dich selbst. Das ganze Hela-Team und wir von Rolling Pin freuen uns auf dich. Und jetzt geht's zurück zu unserem Podcast mit Rasmus Munk.
So this worked from the beginning on pretty well, 2015. Did people understand it, or do you think, or was it, did it take time to
It took time.
understand?
It still takes time, I would say. I think there's still a lot especially in our industry, that seems like Alchemist is like this circus of things. Like, is it even about the food? And I think it's quite interesting, those thoughts. But especially in the start, it was tough as well. There was a lot of critics from our industry, like Facebook groups was made up by chefs that was like sending pictures and say they did this similar dish in El Cela de Can Roca like 10 years ago. Or even journalists was like, this is like something that Heston Blumenthal did, or like Fernanda
really?
did. And like, so there was this, they going 20 years back in time and doing molecular gastronomy. And I think it was because there was not a word for describing what we were doing. People didn't understand it. From our side, we've probably not been good enough at communicating it back then. So that's also why when we started the new Alchemist, I wanted to initiative a cuisine. So that's what we call holistic cuisine today.
Holistic cuisine.
We made a scientific paper on that, a manifesto as well.
Exactly,
so people maybe could understand what is this thing about. And it's not for neglecting the other kitchens, because New Nordic Cuisine is amazing, molecular gastronomy, the French gastronomy, we stand on shoulders of these cuisines. But I think there was a need for put things in writing about some of the social issues that we were talking about in the food, and make food maybe as an artistic medium.
Yes, artistic medium, and also what you said, this holistic approach to define, and is a very crucial element, to communicate it as something which goes beyond eating and putting in some calories. So this was also something your future business partner realized. He saw the potential, and then there was this cooperation where you said, all right, let's think big. No?
Yeah, he came to the restaurant, visited us I think a month after opening, and he's a privileged man. He's a billionaire and travel the world for food, and he's really a big foodie. So he's I think he's dining out most of the days a year, and he thought, like, when he came to Alchemist, he saw something that was new, something that was a new way of approaching food, and I think that for him resonated with him. So he asked me if I wanted to do something bigger at one point. I should let him know, and I did, and I came up with the drawings of Alchemist, because at that point it was also the start of Alchemist. So actually I wanted to, what can you say, go with my own journey for a while, because I had guests and I could pay salary to myself and my staff, so I didn't need an investor at that time. But I thought,
actually, it's true.
Yeah.
You didn't have to at the time. No? I mean,
no, not
you
only.
could have said, it's fine like it is.
Yeah.
Because it worked. It began to work out, although the criticism from, fine.
Yeah.
But
No, it worked out, and the guest was happy, and like the guest posted a lot of great things about it, and we got like fully booked most of the time. We were 15 seats only as well, so that of course helped on it. But I think like when you have all your money on stake, and you're like if it go bankrupt, that then you're in debt for at least many years to come. So I didn't want to, what can you say, burn any bridges with this man that have just proposed if I wanted to do something big at one point. So I actually went to my parents' summer house, and I started to draw on what I will just say an unrealistic restaurant. I was like, what is the most crazy thing I can think about? Like
if everything was possible, how would it look?
How would it look?
Yeah.
And I was like 50 staff, like a research kitchen that will publish scientific research papers. We will change the world for gastronomy. We have this huge dome that look like a planetarium. There will be a wine tower that's like 15-meter height with glass, and all of these things, and presented it for Lars. And I thought in the end of the meeting, he would probably say this, let's talk maybe in the future, or like close it down. But he said like, I want to be a part of this. And then you go home in your humble little restaurant that you loaned some money for and built most of it yourself. And then you look at these drawings and
you
say, if this can just closely become a reality, then why not try to take that chance? And then we negotiated for over a year, and then we shook hand and closed the first Alchemist down and opened back in 19.
I remember this was 2019.
Exactly.
It was a time where then the first Alchemist was closed, so everybody was waiting and not exactly knowing if this super crazy thing will happen. I think I remember that there were even like some of the plans before it was actually built. There were plans circulating in the media, I think. I can remember,
we released
right?
a couple of things along the way, also, of course, to create some hype about the restaurant.
Which you did, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, it was like amazing start for us, like because we didn't have any Michelin stars, we were not on any list or anything. I was not known like abroad in that way. So I mean, it was amazing when we opened up for the first release. We had over 10,000 people on the waiting list for 3 months, and that was crazy. And since we opened to now, we had over 2 million people on the waiting list. So it's
2 million people on the waiting list
since the start of Alchemist to now.
All in all,
so it's been also surpassed my wildest imagination that we should be solid booked for. Now we'll be operating on the 6th year. Post Corona, we had a little closure, but it's amazing, and I think that's the interesting part, that we attract a new audience that's not in the restaurants today. We have so many guests. I think 60% of our guests is coming, and they say they've never been to a Michelin star restaurant. Alchemist is the first Michelin star restaurant they go to, and that's quite amazing for me that we have. That is also sensitive as a chef to say, and I think also that's the critics come in sometimes, because okay, it's not about the craft and the ingredients anymore. It's about the experience elements, and I think it's a combined thing. It's the sum of everything, which is holistic, and I think that's what make it interesting for me, that we have catered to a new market, which is very interested in paying for it, and also getting a food experience. Then there's like something they never tried before, and then they after the meal say, this is my first Michelin restaurant. If it's like this, where can I go next? And then you need to explain people that not all Michelin star restaurants have a ball pit or like a wine list playing in front of them, so just so they understand that. But for me as a professional, for me it can be as a big experience as it is to go to Alchemist for some guests. For me it can be the same to get a street food in Japan, to go to a 3-star Michelin restaurant in France. Like, I understand that kind of craft and ingredients and the details to go into it. But I also think we have been cooking and catered for maybe chefs kind of, for food critics, they're dining out 300 days a year, like that kind of feeling, where maybe 98% of our guests that come into a restaurant is actually not noticing that sunflower seeds is straight the right way, or like so I think this way you can see that there's some elements of experiences is creating for some like attraction to go to that restaurant.
Is this maybe something as well which makes the success and, let's say, the hype as well of the Alchemist more understandable, that more than any restaurant in the world, you show that food is about more than food. Is that?
Yeah, I think it's what we advocate for, and
It's just approach, no?
It's
Food is
approach,
more
and
than-
I think
than food,
I will hope when we close the doors that I've inspired chefs, younger chefs as well, to say we can do much more with our medium. I think chefs is always highlighted as rock stars, and you can see them on cover of magazines and so on. And we talk about chefs as the new artist and be very creative, but I think chefs is creative. But there's also very little innovation going on in our industry, and we kind of, I would say, conservative the way we look at food and the experience elements of it. And when you stand with a food journalist or like a photographer that wants to take a picture of you for a magazine, it's always like you would have the fish on the shoulder, or you need to chop something, or a fire behind you. But most of the time I'm sitting and sketching like concepts. I'm not in the kitchen always doing new foods. I'm tasting the foods. I'm giving feedback and so on, but I use it as a medium of creativity. And when I'm developing dishes, I'm not thinking about the ingredients first. I'm thinking about what I want to tell and express. And then I use ingredients and my knowledge as a back catalog of like how to do it.
But as you said before, you're not automatically bored in a Michelin-starred restaurant which serves a normal, let's say normal menu in a classical way.
If I'm bored?
Yes.
No, I love it.
Are you bored in a normal Michelin-starred
I
restaurant?
love it. I love to go out and be catered for, and if you take a very classic traditional restaurant with silver cutlery and like some 3 snacks and a tasting menu and cheese maybe, and so I love that. Like I love all of the diversity in our different cuisines. So I really am not here to say like we need just more like Alchemist and not the other ones. I think it's a combined things, but I think when we look at food, many times it become either or. It's like within music, you will never say that I'm only listening to this specific genre of music, or some probably do, but I'm also with music and with art. I love the diversity in it. And I think there's a time and space for a restaurant like Alchemist and some more traditionals as well. And I think they can stand upon each other and draw attention to whatever city they are in and so on.
Would you say that the gastronomical landscape of Michelin restaurant is not adventurous enough? Is it all in all a little bit too, let's say, boring? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I should be careful what I'm saying as well, because it should not sound like, because it's hard to say all Michelin-star restaurants. There's quite a lot of them, and there's so many amazing restaurants, and I think all of the ones that have stars deserve the accolades they have. I think it's the different criteria, so it's hard to compare like a restaurant like Alchemist to a 1-star traditional restaurant. Like, how do you compare those things? And
exactly, yeah.
But I think we could. I think with the problem sometimes with guides. In general, not Michelin, just Michelin or 50 Best or OAD, but also like food journalism, like to be on a cover on like a magazine, or like getting a review. When you get this kind of success stories, then people look to you and what are you doing, and what is that person or restaurant doing right? And sometimes that can like create a narrative of the creativity, like what does it need to look like? I think there was like, I think that you see a lot of restaurants, if you go through all of the 2 or 3 star Michelin restaurants or 1-star Michelin restaurants, you will probably find some similarities in the ways that they build up the concept of the snacks and so on.
There's a tartelette everywhere right now, right? So, for example,
I mean, tartelette is very popular.
Yeah, let's say
it like that, and that's okay. I mean, if the tartelette can be amazing, and if you fill it with, as many do, like a little bit of raw fish and some caviar on the top and like some fresh wasabi.
Sometimes there is a little bit of this as well,
then it tastes really, really good. And I have nothing against that at all. But I also think we can do, I think the industry can be more creative. And I think it's okay to make these things like then a silicone tongue that you need to tongue kiss with to get your dish. Sometimes it's maybe the same elements that is in the tartlet. Like if it's the tartar with caviar, maybe that could be. So I mean, it's not because we in that way, I think always need to find the new way of doing things, but I think we try to disrupt as well how you can see food and plate food, and I'm very focused on the flavors and the ingredients. We have 2 gardeners full time, like sourcing all of our ingredients. We have like a test kitchen of 8 people that's only working on flavors and textures. We're very obsessed about textures. We have all the like tools in the world to create that. We have the freezing points as exactly what we want. If the dishes is between 2 degrees wrong, then we make a new one to the guests. And so we're very obsessed about those things. But I don't want to talk about that when I'm serving the food. I don't want to talk about the carrot is organic or this milk from a biodynamic cow, or like, because there's a lot of restaurants telling that story. And I sometimes compare to our art museum. If you go in and you look at this beautiful painting, and the text box on the side it will never say 30% of blue point like color from Denmark. It will tell a story about the so why can we not elevate us from being the one that's just, and it's really like this, just the craft. Like we can do so much more, and food is I will say one of the strongest cultural artistic fields or platforms where you can connect people. And that's what we've seen, that some of the dishes that we have done, if you just go and take a little look at TripAdvisor or Google reviews, people like report back that it changed their life. And it's very strong. In the start, I was like, you're just saying that because I'm in front of you. But I can read many like reports from meals at Alchemist. And I think it's because it resonates with them, because they need to digest the thing as well. So when you eat plastic and you get the story about plastic in the ocean, maybe it resonates with you stronger than if you see it in the news or in the art museum.
I think what Alchemist's success is also about is that eating becomes, as you said, like a holistic experience. Is it something, if I understand you rightly, that is that should be more emphasized in restaurants worldwide to create a little bit more of an experience? It doesn't have to be necessarily as theatrical and as like in at the Alchemist. But is the factor experience maybe something that has to be pushed more in Michelin-Star restaurants?
Yeah, I mean, I will never sit and say what other people should do. I think it's up to people themselves, and there's so many great restaurants. I really loved, and that's important for me to say, I really love the diversity from the classic cuisines to Alchemist. And if I'm going out and dine myself, I'm always going to very traditional restaurants, because I don't want to. I mean, in the daytime, I'm working with so many different factors and research that when I'm off, I just want to have some great food, a great craft. But I think I think we could be better at like focusing on the experience. I think it's an overseen element of the restaurant still. And it's crazy because there's so many details in a restaurant that we care about and cater to, and the right chair and the architecture need to be right, and there's some beautiful hanging canvases on the walls and all of these things. And one thing that I'm like, at Alchemist we temper all of our cutlery, so we have different temperatures for different dishes, and it's quite interesting for me that many chefs has been for like, I remember when I was training as a chef, that was like the plate needs to be hot, like the waiters needed to burn themselves kind of on it, and that's like then we're a very good chef if the plate is really hot. And at the same time, the cutlery has been in the cabinet in the restaurant dining room, just room temperature. So what is this obsession about the temperature on the plate? Should we maybe have the obsession with the cutlery that we're using, and like how do we think about those things? So I think there's elements from the theater world, like the art world in general, that we could take in and use as element in the restaurant, because I think that also what guests remember. And there's many times when I hear about guests telling about stories in restaurants, is like, I was in this very little humble place in Italy where I got served the best vitello tonnato I ever had. And maybe the vitello tonnato was average, or the white wine was average, but when they had the feeling in the moment that sun was on the right place and the white wine just tasted amazing, and then they go home, maybe bought even a case of the wine. I think there's a lot of stories about that, and they drink the wine at home and it's not as good as it was.
We all know that, right?
We all know that feeling. And so I just think that feeling is the experience elements in it. And I think that we can succeed in creating a even better experience for our guest if we start focusing more about that. And it's not to say no restaurant is doing that, because there's a lot of restaurants focusing on it as well.
It's of course there are more and more Michelin-starred restaurants. Especially the Western world is, let's say, in a recession, and a lot of good restaurants start asking themselves questions, right?
Yeah.
How can we maybe fascinate people more? And I think Alchemist is one way to show how it can work. Although, of course, not everybody has such an investment for, I think, 15 million, something like that. It was where you can do the same thing, but it still shows that maybe just serving good food is not enough anymore.
I mean, I think there is a space for that, like for the craft itself to have very good food. I think that will never be not modern. I think that will always be there. But I think there will be in the fine dining segment, because there's also coming more and more fine dining restaurants and the price point is higher and higher and higher. Yeah. I think in the future, if we take away the foodies, I think the foodies going around and try all of the restaurants
to analyze it
and so on. But I think there is a need for a more holistic thinking of restaurants in the future. I think the guests will expect more if it's then you have your own garden outside the restaurant and you pick all of your vegetable and you go into the restaurant and serve them and have that storytelling to the narrative. Or like, I just think you need to have some more personality on the plate. I think you need to give and something that is experience beyond the craft. I think that on fine dining restaurants will be the future. You need to have those extra elements to it. And it don't need to be like Alchemist. It don't need to be a huge studio department that's making 3D content in a dome and stuff like that. It can be smaller. It can be something that's completely away from technology driven as well, visuals and so on. So I just think the experience element of it is very important to focus about. And that's a standpoint you also take as a chef, because when I said with the budget last year, I was looking at, should we hire one more chef on the team, or should I hire one more industrial designer? And I choose one industrial designer because I thought the guest will have a bigger impact in the meal about that. Yeah. And it's not to say that we have 50 chefs still, so we're okay.
Yeah, we're still not so it's not completely understaffed.
It's not that we're going on compromising, but in the start I was like, is this compromising my craft? Is this compromising the experience? And people was like starting also in the team internally was saying, we had like rooms with installations in, and on these installation rooms, there was in the start, there was always food in those rooms. And one day I said with the performance, we had a Warteliste performance from Copenhagen Philharmonic. I was like, there should not be any food here. It takes away, it's disturbing the beautiful art that's in front of you. And I had so many opinionates in the team that was like, but then we compromise the experience, we compromise as a restaurant. And I was, no, we're just allowing another artistic field to have the full attention. So of course the food is the main actor, and you get around 30 edible impressions when you are dining at Alchemist.
But on the right moment.
Then, but at the right moment, exactly. Yeah. And I think that was important. And I realized first that when we were going. So we changed quite slightly of a lot of things in 2021 as well, in 2020 it was just in the middle of COVID and stuff like that as well. But we changed a lot of things. Also, we had a lot of content. We had a content with caged chicken coming up, and the chicken was screaming. Yes. And at the same time, we came into this, like, this dish is about, and everybody was looking up, like, so it was important to allow other artistic mediums to be part of that experience. And I will not say that it was a compromise. I also had a chef that's been in the Sex Kitchen. He's been with me for 6 years, and he's very, very talented and an amazing guy. And he's very good at pastry. And we designed this dish we call the Scream, which is inspired by the Scream painting by Munk. Yeah. And when we had the Munch painting, and it was beautiful, and the craft was really good. It was layered with 7 different layers of flavors and so on. I tasted it, and we succeeded in doing the canvas, which was a very hard part. And I was like, this is still missing something. And I took a scoop of citric acid and put it on top of the painting, so you couldn't see it, but underneath. So when you then finished with the last bite, you will start screaming. And he thought I destroyed the whole dish. He was like, we debated about that for a long time, because he was like, we have something that's very beautiful here, and now we put something on that's making people dislike it in the end. But for me, that's the magical about the dish now, and it's on the menu, and people really like it.
Such interesting things to think about. Thank you so much, Rasmus.
You're welcome.
But before, we have one last question.
Okay.
which restaurant which you haven't visited yet do you think could inspire you the most for the Alchemist? Is there one?
That's a good question.
It's a
A
mean one
restaurant
as well.
I've not visited yet.
Where you think you could draw some important inspiration?
But I think it is coming mostly, my inspiration within food has been, the latest years has been within like more traditional food, more street foods. That's also why I said I prefer street foods
This was
actually.
super interesting as an
Because
answer.
I've dined in many of the 3-star, 2-star Michelin restaurants around the world, 1-stars as well, and been very curious in that way. And I think sometimes when you come to this like grandmother that made this like soup for 50 years in the street food in Thailand, then there's something magical there, and there's textures that I've never tried before. So that really inspired me and my catalog of ingredients and the craft and the dishes. But I would say the last, I think 4 years, most of my inspiration come from other places than restaurants. It come from more the artistic world. It coming from the last year here, we focused very much about magic. We work with a couple of magicians and psychologists as well. How can we get magic into the experience? So I think I'm always trying to look out and see if there happens something new, and when there's something open where you feel like I need to go there and test it. So I'm really curious, and I just love food, so I want to go to all of these restaurants. But
It sounds like a good mix, like the down-to-earth food, which is well crafted, well done, and the rest, you look a little bit everywhere. Go to the museum, watch some magicians.
That's a little bit more, where I at least get the inspiration from today.
Thank you so much,
You're welcome.
Rasmus.
Thank you.
Und wir sehen und hören uns für die nächste Podcast-Folge. Bis dann, mein Lieben.